Greetings, this is Joe Hall from 32 West Art Gallery and 32 West Art Gallery Shop on Etsy. I just wanted to do a real quick video and show you a couple of my flutes I have on there for some questions. I've had some questions in reviews and questions just through DMs and stuff about, you know, how's the flute sound, or they'll get a flute and they're like, well, it squeaks or squawks, and I make these by hand. Takes me a week or two to make them, so I would never send anybody or ship something or gift someone something that I make. We make everything in here. It's a whole art gallery and all that, all handmade by me and Sarah. And I would never ship a flute out. I don't care how stressed out or behind or prioritized I would view anything. I would never ship you a flute that would squeak or squawk or squeal or just not play. Most of the time when I make a flute and I play the flute, when I'm completely finished and I think to myself, I don't want to keep this one, I'll make them another one. And I'm like, nope, that's their flute. So I want you to know it is, I'm brutally honest about my work, and I appreciate all the reviews and all the feedback I get and people that comment on my work and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to show you a couple things about these flutes. Here's my small EB flute. That's how big that is, because I've had people say, I thought it would be a lot bigger. I can't give you a flute that's a monster flute for $50. This is $50 with free shipping. I do personal engraving on there for free. Stone choices, I got every stone on the planet almost. This is California sequoia wood, Western cedar, and Michigan cedar. So this is it's probably worth more than $50 just for the wood. And it's actually a musical instrument, so you're welcome. But and then here's my bigger flute. This is a G flute, and I use all kinds of wood. This is spalted oak. I got maple. But most of the time I use cedar, because this flute is enough to where I could break it. Right? I mean, it's like that. It's really nice. The bore is great. It's a very nice flute. But I wanted to show you. Sometimes somebody will walk in and they want to look at the flutes, or they'll order one. My biggest fear is when this happens, when they order a flute. Somebody will be like, it squeaks or squawks. It's not the flute. I try to not be rude about that when I say it, but it's not the flute. It's how much breath and how much life you're giving into the flute. It's like using your own voice. If you scream and go to a concert and scream and yell and hoot and holler and all that, the next day you're like, oh man, like you're hoarse and your voice don't work anymore. A flute is kind of like the same thing, as it's almost an extension of you in a way, or more you're an extension of the flute, because it can only scream so loud before it's like, I can't, and it'll blow over octave. It'll go too far. So I'm going to blow this. Here's what people do. They'll walk in, grab a flute from here or at an art show or somewhere where we're at, and they go, I dread thinking that someone would order a flute, wait 2 weeks, get it, take it out of a package and go, oh, this thing's horrible. That's not true. I always play a song before I ship out the flute to know and try to give it that love of knowing that it is a good instrument. So this little flute is, that's how it's supposed to be played. So if I use my breath, and I can know after a while of using the flute, I'll know the level of breath that that the flute is capable of withholding before it blows over. So I'll show you how far this flute can go. That's about it. I'm going to blow over. Now I know that's the voice of my flute. So I know that's the level of resonance that it can withstand before it blows over. So I always try, and I wish I could be there with someone when they order one, but I'm in Michigan and they're out in California or Guam, and they're like, my flute's squeaky, it's horrible, I want to return it. And I try to be, I will, but I try to be very encourageable and teachable and available. I'm always available for any questions, anything I can video, anything. Um, yeah, so that's the little EB flute right there. These are really nice little flute. The smaller the flute, the more tolerable it is to a higher tone. You start getting a little bit bigger. This is my G flute. I offer both of these on my Etsy shop. I'll put a little link to them in here. But here's the bigger one. This is a G flute. And I do Coco Pelli on here, and here's a Unilome, here's a turquoise, this is spalted oak, I think, yeah, and or it's the maple. But the same thing with the bigger the flute, like I was saying, the more lower tone it wants to be. So you always think bigger and lower tone. So that's an E, G. So this flute, it doesn't take as much. It can't tolerate a ton of air, especially on the lowest note. So, and it's easy to avoid the overblowing overture tone if you give it a little bit of vibrato. So you can hear this. This is just regular. Here's the vibrato. So I'm pretty much just jaunting my breath and blowing into it, and I ain't got my. I've seen people like go all mouth all over this whole thing, and like just blowing all in there, and you start wetting this out and getting it full of breath and warm air, and and stuff like that. It's gonna start saturating the wood and soaking it. So you want to play it really light and not with all of the breath. You don't take in a big old deep breath and then start blowing. You pretty much use the breath that's already residing in your lungs. I'm not breathing in deep to go to play a song or nothing like that. I'm playing what's already there, the same breath I'm using just to speak. That's it. That's all I'm doing. So if I know what the overblow of my flute is, I will eliminate the worry of thinking that I'm going to blow it over so hard it's going to squawk. So here's it. I'm going to make it squawk. That's pretty good. I'm blowing pretty hard. I mean, that's... A lot of times when I do play the flute and I go up the scale and I'm playing whatever I'm just feeling, I'm playing, at the very end, a lot of times I will blow it over. To end my tune, and like I said, that vibrato, that little more of an ambient kind of native-y sound, that I feel is a little more echoey and sounds great. And these on any type of synthesized equipment is absolutely gorgeous. I try not to share that in my advertising too much because I don't want to fool the listener and be like, oh, wow, and then they get it and they're like, it don't sound like that. But I'm telling anybody with any type of equipment whatsoever, these are just, it's phenomenal what these can do. I make double drone flutes and my drums and laughing horse loon calls, and those are available on, and I'll also put a link for those. But this is primarily more about the size of the G flute and the size and sound of my EB flute. So these two are what I have available. I'm not 10 foot tall. This is how big these flutes are. $50, $100. So you can't beat that. I mean, that's a great price. And I work hard on these. And I would, like I said before, I would never send something that I've created out of me into the world to someone where it didn't work. I would never do that. That'd be terrible. It happens every single day. And also, I'm not a big giant corporation. It's just me. So a lot of times when I say 1 to 2 weeks, I need the adequate time to produce what I'm producing for you, because I'll make 5 and 2 are go in the fire. So I need to make sure that I make something for you that's what you deserve and what you're paying for, because you won't get it better from someone else who's just trying to bank it out and bang them out and get it done and get that couple bucks. And I'm not doing that. I'm not into that. I don't enjoy a world oversaturated with things like that. So that's why I'm here providing the best thing I can for you. at a time in the world where, you know, everything else is a burden financially, you know. So okay, anyway, this is my big flute, beautiful. And I'll leave you with a song that every flute I play in every flute before I ship them out. Here it goes. Peace, love. Thank you.